You ever notice how some people don't just make history, they become it? For me, that person was Michael Jackson. The first time I saw him perform, I remember thinking, how can one man have that much control over a stage, over sound, over emotion? And years later, I realized it wasn't luck. It wasn't just talent. There was a system behind the magic. Michael Jackson's greatness came from a level of focus and business intelligence that most people never talk about. And in this video, we're going to break it down. Because by the end, I'm going to answer one question that most fans never think about. How did Michael Jackson turn art, discipline, and ownership into a billion-dollar legacy? Let's start with insight number 1, the obsession with mastery. Michael Jackson didn't just perform, he engineered emotions. He trained like an athlete and studied like a scientist. Every dance move, every beat, every silence had purpose. He'd record hundreds of takes just to find the one that felt right. In his journals, he wrote things like, "Study the greats and become greater." And that's exactly what he did. He watched James Brown for rhythm. He studied Fred Astaire for movement. He analyzed Walt Disney for showmanship. Psychologists call this creative modeling. It's when you borrow patterns from multiple masters until you form something uniquely your own. Michael didn't chase trends, he built timelessness. And the data backs that up. Thriller remains the best-selling album in history, moving over 70 million copies worldwide. But here's what's fascinating. That perfectionism wasn't ego. It was strategy. He knew that excellence creates trust, and trust builds longevity. Now, insight number 2, the business of art. Here's the part most people miss. Michael Jackson wasn't just a performer. He was a business visionary. He understood something decades ahead of his time. Own the art, own the empire. In 1985, he made a move that shocked the music industry. He bought the publishing rights to the Beatles' entire catalog for $47.5 million. At the time, even Paul McCartney didn't believe it would pay off. But years later, that same catalog was worth over $1 billion. Michael wasn't just buying songs, he was buying history. And that was just one of his smart investments. He owned stakes in Sony, ATV, theme parks, movie projects, and his own merchandising empire. He turned his creativity into intellectual property, a move that artists today, from Taylor Swift to Jay-Z, are still learning from. He once said, "The greatest education in the world is watching the masters at work." And he didn't just watch, he bought the masters. Literally. Financial experts estimate that by the 1990s, Michael's business ventures were generating over $100 million a year, making him one of the wealthiest entertainers in history. But it wasn't about money. It was about control. Control over his music, his image, and his message. Because Michael knew that creativity without ownership is just performance. But creativity with ownership? That's power. Now insight number 3, the psychology of impact. Michael Jackson didn't just want to entertain, he wanted to heal. That's why his songs weren't just catchy. They carried emotion, hope, and unity. Man in the Mirror, Earth Song, Heal the World. Those weren't random hits. They were intentional messages. And it worked. He became not just a pop star, but a cultural mirror, reflecting the world's best and worst parts back to itself. Neuroscience tells us that music that combines rhythm, message, and repetition activates empathy and memory centers in the brain. That's why Michael's music didn't just make you dance, it made you feel. And when you combine emotion with precision, that's when you stop being an entertainer and start being a legend. Now let's answer that question I promised at the start. How did Michael Jackson turn art, discipline, and ownership into a billion-dollar legacy? Here's the truth. He treated creativity like a business and business like an art form. He didn't separate the two, he merged them. Every dance rehearsal was a strategy meeting. Every song was a statement of value. Every move was calculated to echo forever. Michael's secret wasn't just his talent. It was his obsession with control, quality, and impact. He mastered the stage. Then he mastered the system. Here's the takeaway. Michael Jackson didn't just moonwalk into history. He designed his way there. He proved that greatness isn't about being the loudest or the richest. It's about being the most intentional. So whatever your craft is, whether you're an artist, a builder, or a dreamer, remember this. Don't just chase attention. Build ownership. Because fame fades, but ownership lasts forever. Michael Jackson was the king of pop. But behind the crown was the mind of a genius investor, a disciplined craftsman, and a man who believed that mastery and meaning could coexist. And that's the real secret behind his greatness.